Hello, my name is Andy and I am the Village Idiot. I'm armed with a car and a GoPro and an unhealthy amount of time on my hands. I'm using that time to attempt to visit every civil parish in England. You're watching the West Lindsey series. This is one of the 9 districts of Lincolnshire and one of the county's most rural. It has 128 civil parishes. Let's see which one this episode's all about. So last week in the West Lindsey series, you'll remember in the West Firsby episode, I mentioned how East Firsby was abolished to make that parish's boundaries bigger. And whilst that is very much true after its abolition in 1936, further research told me that all of the land East Firsby covered transferred to West Firsby. That means Google Maps wrongly displays this area as being East Firsby, and this is all part of the same main village. And that main village is Spridlington. The West Lindsey series is sponsored by Gainsborough Cycles 01427 617 752. For all your cycling needs, this is your one-stop shop, located at 20 Ropery Road or online at gainsboroughcycles.com. There's a link in the description. Gainsborough Cycles, ask for Trevor Halstead. Here's my disclaimer for people who may be watching me for the first time. I say things as I would in my native accent and dialect. As a result, I may not pronounce things in the same way as the locals do. Remember, I'm a visitor. It's impossible to know everything. Leave me a comment, spin me a like and bash that subscribe button. Let's get to today's parish video. Welcome to the last in this little run along the eastern side of the A15 road. This is Spridlington, situated approximately 8 miles north of Lincoln. Spridlington's northern part is given on maps, probably incorrectly, as East Firsby. As discussed last week in the West Firsby episode, East Firsby Parish was dissolved in 1936. The name of East Firsby is generally only associated now with the Lincolnshire Lanes Camp, Glamp and log cabin campsite, which lies to Spridlington's immediate north. Speaking of names, Spridlington's has a connection to the East Riding. Straw poll, how many of you out there knew that the seaside resort of Bridlington used to be called Spridlington too? I'd wager not many. It was news to me. Here in the Lincolnshire version, a school was built in 1870 to hold up to 70 children. This is the building in question, which is now Spridlington's Village Hall. On the wall we've got the parish notice board. I did find a second one of these a little later outside the church. We'll see that too because it's got something nice written on it. The word Spridlington is a little bit of a mouthful. In true Lincolnshire fashion, the locals get round that problem by referring to the place simply as Sprid most of the time. This building might be familiar to you. This was the venue for the parish notice board on June the 12th. I guess this was a bus shelter, but whether the 53M service listed online still calls here is unknown. Next to this is a former tithe barn. This is a stunning building. I'm pretty sure Nikki would have appreciated this one. It's just one of Spridlington's charming and characterful properties. In terms of facilities, there are currently no schools, shops, cafes or restaurants within the village core. However, this building used to be an old farrier's shop. Here's a sign for the campsite. It has 20 pitches, 2 log cabins, a couple of bell tents, a fully equipped Romany caravan and a pod hidden amongst a grove of Christmas trees. And here's one for the finger post fans out there. Check this one out. I love how down the spine of the post it has the name of the village. That's attention to detail right there. Okay, so we've reached the junction with Church Hill, and there's the church. The entrance to it is actually down there. My route will come back up that road later, but it's easier to walk down this hill than it is up. It's not much of a hill, to be fair, it's only a shallow one, but yeah, we're heading this way. So here's that second notice board. This reads, once I've moved the vegetation out of the way, St Hilary's Church in memory of George and Wyn Albone. I wonder who they were. We'll get a look at the church at the end of the route. For now, we're walking down Church Hill towards its junction with Hackthorne Road. This next part is generally residential. There's a nice mixture of old and new properties along here and within the village as a whole. The settlement of Spridlington was probably established in the late Anglo-Saxon period. Unlike neighbouring West Firsby, which saw decline due to the Black Death, this survives to the present day. However, the Black Death did have an effect here. Spridlington originally comprised two separate but adjoining manors with associated churches. These were St Hilary and St Albinus. The loss of revenues from the Black Death would eventually lead to the decline and ruin of St Albinus and its eventual demolition and union with the Church of St Hilary in 1417. Okay, so we've reached a junction here, and I'm going to be turning to the left here to pick up a footpath that will take me back towards the church. Now, I've noticed something on this junction, one of these things. Now, I have no idea what this is. I saw another one earlier on Ownby Road. I don't know whether I can open it or not. Can I? Oh, yes I can. Oh, right. Oh, grit salt. Ah, right, okay. I thought initially this was like a little storage unit for something. You normally see little buildings like this outside pubs because it's an access point to the cellar. And obviously there's no pub here, so I wonder what on earth it was. But yeah, grit salt apparently is in that. Next was this, but I have no idea what it is. If we're talking features, the village has some interesting ones despite being surrounded on all sides by a rural landscape comprising mainly arable fields. For example, there's a small stream which we're crossing over here. There's a water reservoir out to the west, as too is Grange Farm biomethane injection plant. Interestingly, a small corner of the boundaries cover a sizable portion of the former RAF Faldingworth, but that'll be covered when we hit the Faldingworth episode. So this public footpath is a perfect example of how footpaths should be clearly defined. This is actually really good. This footpath runs diagonally across this field. It doesn't run down the side of it, along the edge or anything like that. It's diagonal across the field, and the farmer obviously has to keep the footpath clear. So you've got crops on one side, crops on the other. What would ordinarily be like a rectangular field has to have this line across it so that people can walk. That's an excellent bit of work, that is, by this local farmer. The next field over is just the same. It's a legal requirement for public rights of way to be accessible all the time. If they cross your land, you have to make sure of this. The same goes for if they run through or adjacent to your property. This one does that too, running as it does through the backyard of this house. Much of the village is blessed with fabulous trees. These are a major feature of the historic character of Spridlington. The fact they exist is down to a former reverend. His name was Henry Frederick Hutton. He lived at Spridlington Hall, which today is known as the Rectory, built between 1841 and 1842. At the same time, Ownby Road changed its alignment. It was straightened, moved further to the east and planted with oaks, elms, limes and chestnuts at the request of Hutton, and most of those trees remain today, including this one. Now, after this main walk has concluded, I will be driving down Faldingworth Road, which is this road here, to get the last little bit of Spridlington, because I'm not planning on walking down there. My route goes back towards the church, which is just above this low wall here. One of the things that little drive down Faldingworth Road will catch is the former Wesleyan Methodist Chapel, which was built here in 1838. Look out for it on the left as I drive down. That's coming shortly, but first we've got the Anglican church to look at as we amble back up Ownby Road to complete the circuit of the village. St Hilary's church dates from 1875. It replaced an earlier church dedicated to both St Hilary and St Albinus, which had been built around 1821. It can seat some 200 people. St Hilary's is believed to be in the location of the original church, and that the churchyard may date back to the medieval period. The original St Albinus' church was only around 40 metres away from here. In July of 2007, St Hilary's had raised enough money to have its historic Thomas Nicholson organ renovated. When the restoration project was completed, the organ was rededicated. That was orchestrated by the Bishop of Lincoln on St Hilary's Day. Quite an apt choice, the 13th of January 2008. Alright, so main walk-wise, I've just got to walk back to the car along Ownby Road, which means you guys need today's picture bit. So I've been going for about 40 minutes now, and I just had a little break in the bus shelter because that's where I filmed an episode of the Parish notice board, which you will have seen quite a while ago now. So yeah, it's time for me to head back to the car, which is literally just up there. You might be able to see it as a little blue speck in the distance, just there. I'm going to hop into that, and then we'll put the camera on the dashboard and we'll drive out of Spridlington towards Faldingworth to catch everything on Faldingworth Road. And that is pretty much that. That's another one down in West Lindsey. This has been the Parish of Spridlington, and I've been Andy, also known as the Village Idiot, and I'm out.